How you doing, friend? Just sitting here in the driveway getting ready to go to the office. Thought I would explain how to ruin your credit in 5 seconds flat. 5 seconds flat is all it takes to ruin your credit. That's it. Now, how's that possible? Well, there's a couple things going on with that. And that is one thing that you should never do unless you plan on paying for it yourself. And that is co-signing for somebody. That's how you ruin your credit 5 seconds flat. Co-signing for somebody else. Co-signing so they can get a car. Co-signing so they can get a student loan. Co-signing on a rent, maybe apartment. Maybe you want to help your friend out, get him a credit card. The reason the banks require a co-signer is because the banks don't trust that person. They know there's a high likelihood that that person's going to be late or not even pay for the loan. And that's why they require a co-signer. And here you come along and your friend is asking, your daughter's asking, maybe it's your parents, your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband, ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, whatever. They come along and they give you the sob story about how their credit's damaged or they don't make enough money, and you buy into it. You buy into it because they're your friend and you don't have the strength, not physical strength, but mental strength to say no. You have to learn how to say no. If you want more in life, you want more success in your relationships, in your physical being, if you want more success at work, want more success financially, you have to learn how to say no. If you want a six-pack, man, you got to say no. Not just to donuts, but to pretty much all carbs. That's why I've never had a six-pack. I can't say no. I can't. It's not that I can't. I choose not to do that diet. I'd rather have a 2-pack and be able to eat my ribeye steak anytime I want with some mashed potatoes, maybe some cheese on sour cream and some bacon. I'm okay with not having a 6-pack. But you got to learn how to say no. And you cannot co-sign for other people, because when you co-sign, your credit life is on the line. The banks want somebody to come after, and that's why they require a co-signer. Now, is there a time that you might want to co-sign for somebody? I personally never co-signed for anybody. I did buy a car for my daughter Chastity, but see, I didn't co-sign for it. I was fully prepared to make that payment, and guess what? I made the payment. She drove it like a mad woman. She was a teenager, It's a Honda Civic, 2001 Honda Civic, a few years old when I gave it to her. She drove it and ruined the transmission. It's just a teenager move, it wasn't anything. She wasn't a bad person or anything like that. But guess who had to take care of it? It was her car. Transmission went out. She didn't have $2,000 to fix it, so she basically got rid of it. So I took it back, kept making the payments on it because I didn't want to ruin my credit. I was trying to build it back up. That's the only time that I can remember in my life ever co-signing for somebody. And what I'm getting at to that story is, if you're going to co-sign, there's a couple things that you can do. One is, be prepared to make that payment. So if you're going to co-sign, you better be prepared to make that payment. Your budget better count on making that payment, because you don't want to ruin your credit because someone else made a mistake. It's bad enough if you make a mistake, Now, I'm just reading some of the comments. Sorry about that. Thanks for all the wonderful likes and loves. I appreciate all the comments. As you can see, I'm driving my little race car here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But driving it to the shop to get it ready to sell it. Because I got a new car on the way. I can't wait to share it with you. Cannot wait. But I digress. Don't want to co-sign on insurance either. Big mistake. Thanks for posting that in there, whoever that was. Just saw it. Do not want to co-sign on insurance. But what if you want to co-sign? What if you really want to help your friend out or your family member? And what can you do to protect yourself? I remember my UPS man in Lake Tahoe would listen to my podcast when he was driving around delivering packages, mainly Amazon, right? But he's delivering Amazon packages, and he listened to one of my shows about never cosign. And he come up to me, he's like, man, my niece really wants to get her teeth done. She's wanted to do this for a long time. And I just can't say no. I can't say no. She's my only niece. I love her. And I'm like, dude, don't do it. Don't do it. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm like, if she misses a payment, it's going to ruin your credit. He's like, I got to do it. So I said, all right, let's come up with a way to do it. Let's come up with a plan. So here's what we did. And this is one of the ways, if you're going to co-sign for somebody, here's how I'd recommend you do it. Set up a second bank account. So a separate bank account that both signers. So like my wife and I have a joint checking account. And some of my employees have signing privileges on a few of my business accounts. Which means they can write a check, and as long as there's one signature, the bank will cash that check. But in this case, you need to do it so it's two signatures required to cash a check. And so what I had him do was set up a second bank account, 2 signatures required to get money out, no ATM machine, no debit card, no PIN numbers. And then she had to direct deposit into that bank account from her inheritance, and that's what she was going to go get this cosmetic surgery to get her teeth done, and she was going to pay for it with her inheritance, but she only got a little bit of money every month, enough to live on and have a good life, right? But not enough to pay for the procedure. So that's why she needed credit. So we set up the second bank account. We had the money directly deposited into that bank account from her inheritance. And then the bill was automatically drafted from that account. Now, if you're thinking, well, my friend doesn't have an inheritance. Well, there's a couple things you can do. You can have them direct deposit from their employer. It's really simple. You know, even as a small employer like we are with 50 employees, we can direct deposit into 2 different bank accounts on their paycheck. So they can do a percentage, or they can do a dollar amount into a separate bank account. And a lot of my employees do that for savings plan. It's forced savings. And so you can do that. You can make sure that they deposit the money in that bank account. The other thing that you really want to do is I'd make them have some reserves. I'd make them have 3 to 6 months of reserves. Remember, they're asking you to take a chance of destroying your credit for the next 7 years, potentially 10 years, potentially destroying you financially. Because if you co-sign on a car with them and they go get drunk and they run a red light, like we see here in Vegas, like every single day, and they T-bone somebody, and they kill somebody. I don't know what that's all about, but they kill somebody, they really hurt somebody. It would be horrible and tragic. Would never want that on somebody. But what if you co-signed on that car and you were registered on that car? Do you think they're going to stop with your niece? Do you think they're going to stop with your nephew or whoever you co-signed for? No. They're going to come after you. Then what are you going to do? You going to reach into your home equity to pay off this lawsuit? You know, because they probably didn't have $1 million of coverage like you should have if you're driving around in a car. They probably had the state minimums. They're going to come after you, my friend. Another reason not to co-sign, right? But let's say you decide to do it and you're willing to put your credit on the line. You're willing to risk your financial situation for your friend. That's fine. I would ask for a minimum of 3 months reserves. 6 months reserves would be even better. If they want you to co-sign on that car, which I do not recommend that you do, but if you were going to, or maybe you're going to co-sign on their care credit so they could get their cosmetic procedure done, don't recommend it, but if you decide to, I would make sure they have 3 to 6 months reserves. And if they come back and say, I don't have the reserves, and I wouldn't do it. That's scary. If they're wanting to buy a car, or get their teeth done, or their boobs done, or whatever, go on a mission trip, or whatever they want to be co-signed on, student loans, and they don't have 3 months of payments saved up, man, you probably should not be buying that car. You probably should not be, getting your teeth done. You shouldn't be going on that vacation, whatever it is. 3 to 6 months reserves. So if you're going to do it, which I do not recommend you ever co-sign for anybody. Ever. I don't recommend it. It's bad, bad, bad idea. In fact, it's so bad. There was a man named King Solomon. You ever heard of him? According to the Bible, God said he was the richest man in the world of all times and the wisest man. He had more wisdom than any other man living at that time or ever to be. He was the wisest man ever. He said in Proverbs, never co-sign. Now, if the wisest, richest man in the world is saying not to co-sign, you don't need to listen to me. Listen to King Solomon, right? Now, obviously, he didn't say co-sign. He said never sign for a debt for someone else. It's in Proverbs, short little book in the Bible. I recommend reading it. Tons about money. But if you're going to not take my advice and not take King Solomon's advice, the wisest man and the richest man in the world, and you're going to do it because you know better, set up a second bank account. It's necessary, a second bank account. 3 to 6 months of reserves of payments. Make sure you have access to that bank account so you can see. Make them set up automatic payments and make them set up automatic deposits. These are a must. And if they're not willing to do this, don't co-sign for them. I don't think you should do it anyway. But if you're not going to listen to the wisest man in the world say not to do it, and that's not me, it's King Solomon, and you're not going to listen to me after looking at tens of thousands of credit reports and helping thousands and thousands of people fix this problem, make sure you do at least do that. 2-signer account, automatic deposit, automatic payment, 6 months reserves. See you later.